I believe abortion is the most important human rights issue of our day. Nearly 1 million lives are lost yearly in this country. Human dignity begins at conception and extends all the way to the grave. What greater threat is there to the family than the legal and celebrated extermination of its most vulnerable members? This issue has become political when it should not be. Protecting life and the right to life should be bipartisan in nature. This issue of justice is dividing us in a way nothing in recent history has. And this doesn't have to be the case. Abortion impacts families on many levels. Mothers, fathers, siblings, extended family are all affected. Even now, in this room, in Maryland, at the Gaylord, some of you are quietly suffering, and you feel alienated by your family, by your peers, by your churches. This doesn't have to be. We all have value, whether we are post-abortive, whether we've never had it, it doesn't matter. We all have inherent value.
They don't like us teaching our children about our great American values. Their values are not our values. We stand for faith. We stand for family. We stand for country. And that is what President Trump does every day when he stands against the fake news, when he stands against these Democrats who are trying to take him down, and when he stands against socialism in America. And so I ask each and every one of you, just like my father and my mother did, do not be silent, because the socialists, they want you to be silent. They want to intimidate you. Do not stand down. You fight you speak up boldly, and you protect our freedom, our democracy, and protect our great nation and fight for our great nation, because Donald Trump has your back. God bless you, and God bless America.
Let's be clear about the scope of threat we're facing right now, but in terms of organizing to counter it, a few things come to mind. A few sources of inherent advantage that we have that I think we only have ourselves to blame if we screw this up. One is our allies, right? You have Chinese academics that have been writing op-eds, I think one in the New York Times in 2011, that really get this point, that I think the quote was, the core of competition between the U.S. and China will come down to who has better friendships. We have a network of allies that the Chinese can never hope to counter around the world. We have incredibly complex and interwoven data sharing agreements. We have the Five Eyes partnerships where we share everything when it comes to our intelligence community with certain key countries. We have to have friends in order to win this competition over the world, on the world stage, because we can't do everything by ourselves. The second thing I'd say in response to what Gordon aptly pointed out is I think there's a tendency when we see the Chinese investing all this money in AI, going around the world, bribing people around the world, right? Getting other countries in debt traps. We're struggling to keep up. I think there's a tendency in Congress or more broadly in the government right now to think that we need to figure out a way to out-China China. We're never going to be able to do that, right? We have to bet big on our founding principles and our values, right? Our bottom-up process, right? Empowering the laboratories of democracy to solve problems from the bottom up rather than the hierarchical top-down process we see in China. And therefore, if we continue to drift leftward, if we continue to go down this route of socialism light in America, we will lose this competition without firing a shot. We will defeat ourselves far sooner than any member of the Chinese Communist Party will defeat us.
Watching this video from Chicago that came in yesterday. Come on. I mean, these police officers are guarding the monument to Christopher Columbus, and they are just besieged on behalf of the protesters that are hiding behind umbrellas down on the street below, Matt.
This is outrageous. I mean, Mo, I love and respect you, and I know what you're saying. I bet there are good people. I know that there are good people that, for instance, have marched with Black Lives Matter. But what Black Lives Matter Incorporated and their leaders and their founders and Antifa and these groups are doing is raising a lot of money to foment racial hatred and riots and violence. And look, we should have the political conversation with words. We should not be having the violence in the streets. Look, in a college campus, when the kids get too rowdy and try to take down the goalposts, the cops step in. You know what? The cops have a brutal job. And this attack on the police, trying to make it so they can get sued, Joe Biden wants to defund them. He's actually said they should move resources away. This is exactly the wrong prescription.
Yes, he has. He used the word diverse.
Yes, he has. He's for defunding the police.
We can have an honest debate.
Hang on.
He does not support defunding the police.
Yes, he does, and he said it.
Matt, there are delays between my camera, yours, and Mo. I'm going to. He used the word divert. If you want to interpret that as define or move around, well, he has to define that. But I'm almost out of time, Matt. I appreciate your point. I just want to get to know
he has not called out or criticized any of the moves in any of these cities that have taken resources away from these cops who are literally under attack in our streets.
Years ago, I had the chance to go to Philadelphia for the first time, and maybe I'm a little bit of a geek, but as a kid, I always thought of our founders like superheroes, bigger than life. So when I got a chance to go with my wife to Independence Hall, I was ready to be blown away. You know, I kind of thought it might be like the Justice League. I'd see where the superheroes were at. And as I got up early that morning to go into one of our nation's treasured structures, I saw as I came in that the desk and the tables there, the chairs and the other things were very much like the ones you're sitting in today, and tables and chairs that we use all across this country. A little bit older, but they weren't much different. You see, what it reminded me of is the fact that our founders were just ordinary people. Ordinary people who did something quite extraordinary. You see, they didn't just risk their political careers. They didn't risk their business ventures. These were people, I dare say, patriots who risked their lives for the freedoms we hold dear today. What makes America great are not just the things we talked about, but that simple fact that all